all of you know by now, and this is my fall MPX 10 presentation. So this past semester has been very similar to a maze, and so I'm going to take all of you on a trip to a magical land that consists mainly of tall hedges that make up a gigantic maze. So like I said, this maze is very similar to the past semester in that as I went along, different obstacles popped up that I had to either find a solution to or find a way around. As I went along, the first obstacle that I came around was a giant canyon that I had to find a way to get across. The solution that I came up to this was to build a bridge across it. This solution was a bit risky because there was a chance that I might fall into the canyon as I was building it, but I knew that there wasn't any other way across that would work as well. I connected this to the pencil box project that we did instead. So in this project, my group and I decided that we wanted to make drawers instead of just a standard box shape. This design was a bit risky because we knew from the beginning there was a possibility that it wouldn't end well and we'd have to restart, setting us back a lot farther from the rest of the class if we had to make a new design from the beginning. So the lesson that I learned the most from doing this was the importance of attention to detail. My group had to be really meticulous with our design so that the drawers fit correctly and didn't look awkward or get stuck when you're trying to put them in. There were some times throughout the project that I didn't follow the blueprint as surely as I could have when I was cutting out the wood pieces to make the drawers, and later on this always ended up backfiring because we had to sand our drawers a little bit more than we maybe had to if I had been a bit closer to the blueprint. So I connected this project to the learner profile, embrace appropriate risks and opportunities to solve novel problems. My group embraced the risk of making the drawers, and because of this, our box ended up looking a lot nicer than it would have if we had done something else, and it was also a lot more gratifying. So back to the maze. As I went along, I was prepared for the next obstacle, which came in the form of a large brick wall that I couldn't see the top of. When I looked at this, I thought that I was stumped because there was no obvious way to get around it. With the canyon, it had been a bit more sure of what I needed to do from the beginning. But for this one, it seemed a little bit like it was going to be harder to find a solution. I had to think of something creative to come up with a way around it. So there were a lot of projects this past semester that also required this type of creativity and imagination to come up with a solution. The thing that I connected to was the Wood podcast. My group had to use creativity to find a way to make our podcast engaging and interesting to listen to. Initially, we had wanted to just do a straightforward narration style for our podcast, where the three of us switching off speaking into narration. But as we went along, we realized that this was really boring sounding and wasn't going to get us as good of a grade as it might if we did something else. So to figure out what we wanted to do, we first needed to get a lot of information on our topic, and then also information on the different styles of podcasts. In the end, we ended up integrating a little bit of dialogue along with the narration to make it look a bit more interesting, sound a bit more interesting. Through this project, I also learned some editing skills when it came to adding in the sound effects, which went a long way in making our podcast sound interesting along with the dialogue. Because of this, I connected this project to the learner profile, applied creativity and imagination to problem solving. If my group hadn't applied creativity when we were working on our podcast, it would have been really boring sounding and not ended up with getting as good of a grade as it did. So back to the maze, the next obstacle that I came across was a riddle that I had to solve and find the answer to. This wasn't like an ordinary riddle though, because I had to first speak the beginning of the answer, then write the second part, and then draw the last part. This combination of mediums is very similar to the Native American Dream poster that we did in humanities. For this project, we had to create a poster using Photoshop, then present what our topic was to parents and teachers, and then finally write an individual essay. My partner and I chose to do our project on the conversion schools that the Native American children were sent to in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I'm really proud of how we were able to convey our message through the poster that we made, while still giving it an artistic style. I think that honestly, through doing this, we were able to get the message across better because a lot of times people have a stronger connection to art than they do to straightforward facts. When it came to the presentation and the essay, we already had the information ready from doing the research before. It just took putting it into the different mediums and I learned how to do that. So because of that, I connected this this project to the learner profile, communicate effectively using multiple mediums, spoken, written, artistic, and digital. Okay, so back to the maze. As I was walking along, the next obstacle wasn't showing up right away, but I was beginning to get frustrated because reaching the center of the maze, which was my end goal, was seeming to be a lot harder than I initially thought it would. It was taking a lot longer, and there were a lot more obstacles than I really thought there would be. And so I thought maybe I could take a shortcut, as probably everyone has thought when going through a maze, and tried to walk straight through the hedges to the center of the maze. This, however, did not work, because once I tried to cross through one of the hedges, I was pushed immediately back to where I was supposed to be, and had to continue on the way that I had been going before. The reason this didn't work was because I neglected to take care of the environment around me. In STEM, our way of taking care of and nurturing the environment was the zoo banners. Through this, we had to come up with an environmental issue and figure out solutions and convey this through an Adobe Illustrate banner. My group chose to do our project on palm oil, which now I'm much more aware of. After doing the research, I'm now very careful when I purchase packaged foods, and I check the ingredients lists a lot more to see if palm oil is in it, because I know how detrimental this is to the environment. Through doing this and through making the banner, I have started to nurture, sustain, and steward the environment and community in which I live, which I didn't do as much before. Later on, when we presented to parents, I further displayed this learner profile by trying to articulate the problem and get other people on board with the solution. Now that I was walking the maze and knew that shortcuts were, in the end, not going to be worthwhile, I began to understand the importance of persistence. Even though it was going to take me a long time to get to the center of the maze, if I kept going and maintained a positive mindset, I would, in the end, reach there, and with a lot more skills than I started out with. So I connected this to the writing pieces that we did in humanities, specifically the role-play reflections. I chose these two as my example because you can really see my improvement from the first one and the second one. In the first one, I received an 86%, while in the second one, I received a 97%. This was only because I was able to persist and keep a positive mindset while I was improving my second one. I was careful to pay attention to the feedback I had gotten on my first reflection when writing my second reflection, and I also went back and checked for my spelling and grammar a handful of times on the second one, which I know I had neglected to do in the first one. This lesson on persistence is actually my biggest takeaway from this past semester. Whether you're going through a metaphorical maze that is school or an actual maze, keeping a positive mindset and continuing to go is the best way to grow and learn. Sometimes I had a difficulty with doing this because a lot of times I wanted to give up or take an easier route. But in the end, I figured out that this wasn't the way to go, and I have learned to grow and persist. Thank you.